that you try to predict failure in order to manage risk of your design, so it ensures that you've thought through your designs properly and put them out in the field. We use a lot of decision analysis tools through the process to force decisions. There's always many people involved when you're designing a new product: the marketing people, the manufacturing people, the sales people, customers are giving input, the VPs have their own opinions on how things should be. So to try to bring that all together, we use some decision-making tools in order to do that.
Can I ask you a question? When you have a project, I always tell the student that it is good to have some kind of a budget, and it's better to have a rough budget than to have no budget. And when I was in charge in Thailand some years ago, electrification of the road that Thailand place, what I insisted was to have a flexible budget. It is to say, whenever we got stuck in a place, we needed to develop some kind of a new procedure or a new technology, I could authorize to do it. Now in your company, and this was the Agency for International Development, the government, so the money was not that much of a problem.
Yeah.
Now in a private operation where you are, you have, let's say, a project, a product design, and suppose something goes wrong, and suppose that within your company you do not have that knowledge to finish that product design. Can you go outside to a consulting company? Are you authorized to do it, or to hire somebody on a temporary basis to pay?
Yeah,
Or
of
you
course
have
you
to
are.
go to your boss?
Yes, it depends on what level. I mean, at every level of an organization, you have different spending limits that you can authorize. But yeah, I've brought people in order to accelerate programs and things of that nature. It's a harsh world out there. If you miss on a budget, that usually is reflected in your performance reviews. If you continue to do it, they'll probably find somebody to take your place that's better at it. So, I mean, that's the way it works. It's an interesting company, very fast paced. I have 10 engineers that are probably working on any given time. They're working a minimum of 15 projects, sometimes up to 20. So it's managing priorities, very interesting. Keeping everybody's tempers to a minimum when there's issues. Other than that, a little bit broader view of the company from a challenges standpoint. They're a global company. The whole solar industry, the majority of it, is in Asia. So the customer base is located in Asia. The supply chain is set up worldwide. They say LCR, low-cost region, which is not always Asia. There's some procurement being done in the States because of automation and whatnot to be competitive. But logistically, moving around all this big, heavy equipment, I'm talking about 2-story high machine installations here. Logistically, how to bring that all to a customer site and get it installed. So they have a very interesting business model on how they go about doing that. They do commodity sourcing versus sourcing sub-assemblies of a product. A sub-assembly, if we look at a car, for instance, a sub-assembly might be like an entire dashboard or an engine or a transmission. They would set up their sourcing plan based on commodity. So anything structural steel, whether it's behind the dashboard or the car frame or the seat frame or whatever, would come from one vendor and ship in to be assembled right there at the facility. So the interior trim and the exterior trim would all come from one place as a kit. It'd be assembled on site. It's a different way about doing things. And, you know, everything is operations, and this is how they've chosen to work. They feel it's more efficient this way. And I tend to agree in this case because they're moving very large pieces of equipment. So you can bundle all your steel together, bundle all your rubber together, and all your electrical components, as opposed to having sub-assemblies made up. It's a different approach. Hopefully somebody at my company has run analysis on this to determine that it is the correct way. That's not what I do there. So the other challenge is how to protect your designs from piracy, basically, about being copied over there. So the one way that, well, there's a few ways. Move very fast. You drive innovation always, very quickly, to stay ahead of your competition. So by the time your competition figures out what you did, you're already doing something better. Develop strategic relationships with your customers, and that's always a good thing. And always deliver a quality product, so you're the best and they want to go back to you. Give them good support. So again, a lot of operations related things there. Prior to that, working at GT-AT, I worked at a very small startup company in Massachusetts that made very large tractor trailer scale energy storage batteries. And a very different company culture. Speak of company culture, the culture is usually set by top management, and how I would describe GT-AT is very fast-paced, innovative, a lot of good people. You got to be a performer and produce results. The company's doing very well, growing. It's dynamic. Premium Power was more of a startup where the pace really didn't matter as much. We were kind of just in the development phase of the product. So it was more research and development. It was different, okay? So every company's gonna have a different feel to it. So, before that, I spent 16 years as Director of Engineering and Quality Control for a custom plastics manufacturer here in New Hampshire. And I used to say we did everything from toys to medical products. That was the case years ago. Yeah, you know, the toys were offshore, and we basically had to go to the more technical molded product or offer value-added services and assembly services. We'll get into that in a minute. Just to give you a little snapshot, when I started with Grant Plastics, was the name of the company, the internet wasn't around. Did business by basically typewriter and fax machines. So at the end of the 16 years, we were fully integrated, computer tie-in to basically Walmart's order processing. So we could see the products that we were making, we could see the inventory drawdown and backfill automatically. I mean, from going totally non-tech to totally high-tech. That was just the progression in the environment. Basically, we stayed up with it as years progressed. We were ISO 9000 certified, which we went through a process in our plant of documenting all our procedures, both business procedures and operational procedures, use statistical methods in the quality department, and got the ISO. Now, the ISO was an important tool to manage your plant. It made you do things right if you used it properly. There's a lot of companies that don't use or didn't use ISO 9000 properly. They document what they were doing. They were doing it wrong, okay? But it was a marketing tool. I mean, to attract customers, you needed it. So we went out and got that. See it?
Sorry.
That's okay. We can be relaxed here.
Yeah, so do you find that that's still true today with the ISO certification? Because I went through it years ago, and it was like a really big push, and it was on the marketing side, you had to be ISO
Yeah.
certified.
It depends on your customer
I
base.
still see it, but not as much.
Yeah, depending on your customer base and what market you're playing in, I think it's still important, a big thing. So, yeah, statistical methods and techniques that we used to establish process capabilities when we were bringing new products in. We would also, on some of our higher end medical accounts, we would keep data and run reports that we would include with each shipment. As long as we had good CPKs, the product went right to their stock room. They didn't re-inspect. So it proved that our processes were in control, and they did a lot of acceptance based on that. We employed lean principles of manufacturing, looking at ways to reduce cost in the plant, reduce labor, cycle times, process improvements, getting rid of inventory in between steps of the product development, limiting movement, employing special tools, do product assembly, all good stuff to bring costs out of a product. We were competing against Asia. We did a lot of care products at the time. We did everything. We did a lot of that, but in order to be competitive, you really needed to have your act together in order to maintain business. So on the quality side, I spoke a little bit about the statistical techniques. From an operations end, the machines never stopped. I've seen manufacturing plants where machines are going and the operator needs to go to lunch. They shut the machine down, he goes to lunch, and you're losing a couple hours a day between breaks and bathroom visits and whatnot. At this company, the breaks were scheduled, and when the machine operators went to take their breaks, for whatever reason, the QC people or the shop foreman would sit down at the machines, and the machines never stopped. They kept running. Everything was machine-paced. The part came out, you did something to it, and it never stopped once the shift started. Or if it ran 24/5 as we were running, it just kept going throughout the day. So one of the nice things about doing that, obviously, you're very efficient. Your productivity is phenomenal. You have no downtime during the day. The quoted number was the number you got, unless you're making bad parts, in which case you needed to address it right away. It happened on occasion, but not that often, thank God. So with the way we operated like that, you had a higher level individual in your plant actually sitting down at the machine, so they had a fresher set of eyes. They knew what to look for. The operators were trained, but they would tend to be a little bit more receptive to picking up problems that weren't that obvious. So that worked out very well. In order to compete against the market, the global market, they strategically focused on making larger products, larger medical products, not little tiny pieces. a lot of industrial products, a lot of infant care